In the foothills of the Himalayas, where the land was rich and the rivers flowed with the promise of life, a kingdom flourished. It was here, in what is now Nepal, that a child was born, one whose destiny would change the course of human understanding. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, but the world would come to know him as Buddha. His father, King Suddhodana, ruled the land of the Sakyas. Though he was blessed with wealth and power, one thing still eluded him, a son who would inherit his throne. Then, one night, Queen Maya, Siddhartha's mother, had a dream. She saw a magnificent white elephant descending from the heavens, carrying a lotus flower in its trunk. The royal priests declared it an omen of great fortune. The queen would bear a son. A child unlike any other. When the time came, Queen Maya traveled to the lush gardens of Lumbini. Beneath the shade of a blooming tree, she gave birth to a radiant child. Legends say that as soon as he was born, Siddhartha took 7 steps, and a lotus flower bloomed with each step. A great sage named Asita was summoned to see the prince, and upon gazing at him, the old man wept. When asked why he was crying, he replied, "This child is destined for greatness. He will either be a mighty king or a wise sage who will free the world from suffering. But alas, I will not live to see that day." The king, fearing that his son might abandon his royal duties in search of spiritual wisdom, decided to shelter him from the world's suffering. Within the palace walls, Siddhartha knew only pleasure, beauty, and joy. He was given everything a prince could desire: fine clothes, exquisite foods, and even 3 grand palaces, each suited to different seasons. As Siddhartha grew older, he was married to the beautiful and virtuous Yashodhara, and together, they had a son, Rahula. The king believed his plan had worked. His son was now bound to the palace by love and responsibility. The 4 encounters, but destiny is not so easily denied. One day, Siddhartha, now a young man, convinced his charioteer to take him beyond the palace gates. What he saw that day shattered the illusion he had lived in. On his first journey, he saw an old man, bent with age, struggling to walk. Siddhartha had never seen such frailty before. "Is this the fate of all men?" he asked. On his second journey, he encountered a sick man, his body racked with pain. Siddhartha was horrified. He had never known such suffering existed. On his third journey, he saw a funeral procession. For the first time, he understood the reality of death, and a deep sorrow settled in his heart. Finally, on his fourth journey, he saw a wandering ascetic, a man who had renounced all possessions yet radiated peace and wisdom. Siddhartha was mesmerized. How could a man who had given up everything look so content? That night, as his wife and son lay sleeping, Siddhartha knew what he had to do. The comforts of the palace no longer held any meaning. He needed to find the truth, the key to ending suffering. Silently, he left the palace, exchanging his royal robes for the simple garments of a monk. He abandoned his title, his wealth, and his family, stepping into the unknown in search of enlightenment. The path of suffering, Siddhartha sought out the greatest teachers of his time. He first learned from Kalama, mastering deep states of meditation. But something was missing. Next, he studied with Uddaka Ramaputta, but still, he felt no closer to true wisdom. Determined, Siddhartha joined a group of ascetics in the forests, believing that extreme self-denial would lead to enlightenment. He fasted until his body was thin and frail, surviving on mere grains of rice. He endured suffering beyond imagination, but still, truth eluded him. One day, as he sat beneath a tree, a kind-hearted village girl named Sujata offered him a bowl of rice and milk. At that moment, Siddhartha realized something profound: extreme self-denial was just as harmful as indulgence. The path to wisdom lay not in suffering or pleasure, but in balance. This would later be known as the middle way. With renewed strength, Siddhartha made his way to a sacred fig tree, later called the Bodhi tree, and vowed, "I shall not rise until I have found the truth." The night of enlightenment, as he meditated, the demon Mara, the lord of illusion, came to challenge him. Mara whispered doubts into Siddhartha's mind, conjured terrifying visions, and even sent his most beautiful daughters to tempt him. But Siddhartha did not waver. At dawn, as the first light touched the earth, clarity washed over him. He saw the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. He understood the cause of suffering and how it could be ended. He had broken free from illusion. At that moment, Siddhartha Gautama became the Buddha, the enlightened one. The teacher of the world. For the next 45 years, the Buddha wandered from village to village, teaching all who would listen. His first sermon, given in Deer Park, introduced the world to the Four Noble Truths: suffering exists, dukkha, desire and attachment cause suffering, samadaya, suffering can end, nirodha, there is a path to end suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path, magga, His teaching spread far and wide. Kings, merchants, monks, and peasants alike came to hear his wisdom. Even his wife and son joined his order, renouncing their past lives to follow the path of truth. At the age of 80, the Buddha lay down between two trees. He gave his final teachings and entered a deep meditation. In complete peace, he passed into parinirvana, forever free from the cycle of rebirth. The legacy of the Buddha's teachings continued to spread, reaching distant lands, India, China, Japan, Korea, Tibet, and beyond. His followers built temples and monasteries, preserving his wisdom for future generations. To this day, the Buddha's journey from prince to enlightened teacher remains one of the most profound spiritual transformations in history. He did not seek to be worshipped, nor did he claim divinity. Instead, he simply pointed the way, showing that every human being has the potential to awaken, to break free from suffering and find peace within, and so, beneath the shade of the Bodhi tree, the light of wisdom continues to shine.